An announcement from former President Trump for a 2024 election bid is more of a when, not an if. But it's not about avenging a loss. It's not about being angry about the last election. 4 people with knowledge of the situation tell Rolling Stone that mounting legal issues are a motivating factor for Trump's desire to retake the White House. One of the sources who discussed the issue with the former president over the summer told the magazine, quote, he says when, not if, he is president again, a new Republican administration will put a stop to the Justice Department investigation that he views as the Biden administration working to hit him with criminal charges or even put him and his people in prison. According to the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel, a sitting president cannot be charged with a federal crime. The same is not true for prosecution at a state level. However, any attempt to put Trump on trial would likely make its way to the Supreme Court.
So, John Heilemann, this is nothing new. Whenever you talk to people close to Trump during the question of whether he's going to run for re-election or not after the drubbing in 2018, said, of course he's going to run for re-election. I mean, that's his ticket. He's got too much hanging over him liability-wise. But there also is, if we just move this reporting aside and just look at the rest of it, he's really showing signs of weakness out there, whether you're talking about fundraising, whether you're looking at his candidates, the problems that they're having, not only in Republican primaries, but the ones that even do win, the financing problems that they're having. And I saw a clip on Fox last night that was in my Twitter feed, and it seems pretty obvious that Fox News has left the Trump train, and they are jumping on the DeSantis Express. And he sees all of this happening while he's sitting in Mar-a-Lago. It doesn't seem like he's going to be able to sit back much longer, is it?
I don't think so, Joe. And I thought that the reporting last week, that Olivia Nuzzi piece in New York Magazine and everything else we've been reading, just that piece I cite only because Trump was so obvious in terms of what he was thinking, not just, kind of laying out is either before or after the midterms and leaning, I think, tipping his hand. I think that he's thinking much more about before the midterms than after. A huge problem for the Republican Party. Whatever you think about Trump's prospects, the notion I could say that, the Mitch McConnells of the world maybe are starting to make peace with the notion that they're going to have to deal with Trump running. But the notion of Trump as an active candidate heading into these midterms just complicates their picture so much. But I think that's right. And if he runs, which looks he's going to, he's the front runner. But is he in a weakened state right now? Is he in a weaker place than he was? I would say he's probably in a weaker place than he's been in the Republican Party since March of 2016 or so. So 6 years where Trump has been in a stronger position than he is now. He's in a weaker position than any time in that point. But I still think he's the front runner to be the Republican nominee.
Yeah, and Reverend Al, of course, Democrats would love to see Donald Trump jump back in running for president, being in effect on the ballot in 2022 in a year that, well, they're expected to take a drubbing.
Well, I think Democrats are clearly hoping he runs and announces before the midterms, because it then can change a lot of how they campaign. They can run against Trump in a lot of these state primaries, especially when we get the feeling that he being Trump is not running as much for the White House as a way of staying out of the big house. But I think that in the other side of it, it may reshuffle how the Democrats think of 24, because if you have a Trump and a DeSantis and even a Youngkin primary on the Republican side, then what does that do on the Democratic side? Biden's rationale has been, I'm the only one that can beat Trump. But if you have these guys that may challenge Trump, then it might lead to some challenges on the Biden side, or at least Democratic voters saying, well, wait a minute, suppose we have to go against a younger baby version of Trump, and who can beat that? And it may come to people that we are not really looking at, but that has both the star power as well as the kind of newness in terms of national imagery that can bring the party somewhere. So it's going to reshuffle the deck if Trump and DeSantis runs and a Youngkin comes in.